This blew my mind when I saw
This is
person.
this person's very first tattoo ever, and
Already unbelievable. People, well, you just said that. I wonder how many listeners don't believe you. Like, where you say that? This is this gentleman's first time ever doing a tattoo?
ever.
Brothers and sisters, we can't thank you enough for all your love, your support, and your faithfulness. It's been brought to my attention, if you really want to do something to bless us, to thank us, apparently simply hitting the like button on YouTube would be more impactful than what I ever knew, let alone subscribing to us on YouTube if you're not already. And then over on Spotify and Apple, please leave us a review. All of your listening and your comments to us mean the world to us. And do us a favor and just hit like on YouTube and leave us reviews on Spotify and Apple. And we're going to continue to serve you with our whole heart. Thank you so much.
Hey, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another edition of the Tattoo Guardians podcast. My name is Hip, and I got my co-defendants with me, Mr. Matt Clemmer and Joshua Carlton, on deck, ready to fucking talk. And this is a very special episode. Why is it special, you ask? Because this is a real good one to jump over to the YouTube channel and watch, because we're doing another tattoo breakdown of artists that inspire us. And if you do that and grace us with your eyeballs on YouTube, would you be so giving and fucking awesome to absolutely demolish the fucking like button.
And your
Smash
feedback,
that
because
like
I have a
button.
feeling, yeah, like you're saying, we're all in for a treat, because, you know, originally this started out as a podcast around tattooing.
Yeah.
And of course, we've branched out into the little bit of spiritual and life and all things. But for all you tattoo artists, you tattoo guardians, you tattoo lovers that are just true artists and true studying, practicing your craft, today's a treat for you, because we rolling our sleeves up. We got the great Joshua Carlton here to talk all things tattoo, from technical ability, color, all of that. Today is your day. Sit back, relax, grab the popcorn. You about to get a valuable, basically free seminar from us here today on the art form of tattooing. Thanks for watching, y'all. Whoa, this is exciting.
It is. And so for our listeners, you guys are going to see the actual tattoo on the screen. We're going to get fucking dings on a text thread when Mike sends them through, because none of us know each artist, correct, guys?
That's right. So we each are...
Yeah, we've each chosen three tattoos that we want to discuss today that would just inspire us, that we just want to kind of, go over maybe how we think they're done and why we like them. Yeah. Oh yeah, we don't know what each other chose. We may have chose the same picture for all we know.
Yeah. I'm already excited for the lucky artist that were chosen personally by the Joshua Carlton. I'm excited for the artists that are going to be real flattered, chosen by Hip, right? I'm just excited to see. Mike, who's going first? Who gets to start it out?
I'll throw Hip under the bus.
Hip. He lives under that bus. You can't throw Hip under there. He throws himself.
All right, check the text thread.
Okay. In comes the first picture.
So check it. This is Deanna _art. She was on Ink Master, and last year at Golden State Expo, well, a couple months ago, I was 2 booths down from her. Didn't recognize that it was her until I seen this, the far piece to the left, walking around, and I was doing that Steve Irwin tattoo. And it's funny because, like, my client took a break and went over to, like, love on her client and talk about how amazing his piece was, and she's seen mine and was like, oh, that's best to show. And I remember thinking, like, are you blind? Are you not seeing what you're doing?
Man.
But I was intimidated to go holler at her, but I've creeped her page a lot, and it's like she is doing this, or what I believe. I won't miss this opportunity again, but it's like she does stipple shading, turns her machine real fucking low, and then just flicks a liner or a fucking
Really?
something. Yeah, and if you zoom
Even
in
in all this color.
if you zoom in on some of her work, like the one I was talking about, there's like you can see it and it's breathing. Like there's a lot of skin exposed in her pieces, and then she's got like subtle blues and purples in the skin tones and just like the layer of depth. And so like just the flow, the size, the Muka inspirations of like the things that are going on in the background to frame it in.
Yeah.
It is fucking hands down like badass.
My God.
And she took best of show with that piece, by the way.
Deanna Art?
Yep.
Even though she was claiming that yours was going to take best of show.
Well, honestly, I think either one, well, she may have just been being sweet, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I seen that and was like, that's probably best of show. But then I would walk around because it's Golden State Expo and I'd see another one. I'm like, that's best of show.
Well, I don't know about you, but to run into a dope tattoo artist that's sweet never hurt anything, huh?
Right.
Like if you're already kind of like a fan of somebody and their work and you actually get to meet them and they're actually a sweetheart or cool, now we're even bigger fans, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. I wonder if she's single. It's fun.
Deanna's awesome. This is such a great choice, Hip. We were lucky enough to have her at Evergreen, I think maybe three years ago. And she was just super professional, super sweet in person. Her work is absolutely incredible to watch unfold in person. And Hip's right. Like there's a lot of stipple shading. I knew that she was doing that with like roses and some smaller stuff. Looking at these larger tattoos, like I'm definitely interested to, she's doing that with this as well. Like when you saw this in person, could you get close enough to see some of that stipple
Like
shading?
a round shader or actual all liners?
It looked like a fucking 5-tide or something, you know. But
Yeah,
you
that's not what I
got
pictured.
the outline in the black and stuff. That's packed fucking solid. But I'm just
Right.
like, that's a great idea if you think about it, because like now, because forever it was like, you would see people be like, oh, you ain't letting it breathe enough and shit. And like, what a great way to make it breathe and saturate it, because.
Yes, this is actually, sorry.
No, go ahead.
This is incredibly refreshing to see and a really great topic that I want to bring up because we live in a world where there's so many good tattoo artists, right? But Hip, you just nailed it. Like we live in a world where people are saturating to the hilt. And I often feel like, well, maybe, yeah, it's technically a great tattoo, but, artistically, are we losing a little bit by not letting it breathe? Matt, this because we come from the same school. Yeah. The whole new breed kind of school of approaching it very artistic, letting it breathe. Yeah. So Deanna, to me, when I look at this work, my first thought is, okay, is there color washes involved? But now realizing she's such a genius at this that she's stippling it. So which one, you're going to put that pigment in really well, right? Because you just got these little dots that all they're going to do is, if they spread over time, is just make it slightly softer look. But then because there's skin in between the dots, like boom, there's the answer on how to do something like that to let it breathe. So it's really smart. I mean, obviously we have to see, time will tell kind of thing. But I have a feeling that these tattoos look just as good in person. Yeah. All the work I've ever seen from her looked incredible.
Yeah. And you saw it in person?
I did.
Okay.
And she's got a
and how I'm just excited. This is exciting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Man. Very.
And look at the composition.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just incredibly laid out.
I even love the little negative space circle like below the kneecap just because,
I know. Yeah, like that's like when would you think of that, right? Like who thinks of that? Very Muka inspired, very impressive. Yeah. Not only artistically but like technically done so well. There was a lot of women that are killing the game right now, and Deanna is absolutely one of them. What a great pick!
And the
great choice.
That's right. And out of these three pieces, the one to the far right, realizing, when she did that red rose, and then her background color is all got red undertones. It's just darker tones. So there's still contrast, and it just blends going up so well. But even myself would have maybe been scared, or that wouldn't have been my safest bet, wondering if could I put just red there with darker red behind it even though it's a different tone.
Yeah.
But she pulled it off great, and that's more interesting to me than the one in the middle with black around it. Even though there's no comparison, because that black on top and bottom on the middle one, it's fucking makes it strong. But yeah, that one on the right, just red coming off. Dark red is an interesting choice and a very cool one, because I feel like she figured out how to win with it.
The middle one.
Yeah, like if you.
Oh, go ahead, Josh.
Matt, if you were doing this, if I was at the shop with you, Matt, and you were doing the tattoo with the red rose with the red behind it, and you were like, hey, man, I don't really necessarily want to just go black. What are you thinking? I can't imagine. Red rose. I don't know, dog. Let's go with red.
Right.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But man, does it work. Yes. Again, for our listeners, if you get a chance, if you're listening in your car later on tonight, or like when you get to the shop, at least look this up on Instagram, Deanna_art. Yeah. We're looking at these 3 leg pieces. The one on the far right's the one we're talking about. And Matt's right. It's absolutely gorgeous. And it's a ballsy choice that absolutely worked.
Yeah, even, obviously below the rose, it goes from dark to light. And then at the top on the gal's hair, she brings that dark red all the way through the piece and then brings dark back on her hair, but it's still not black, So again, she's got great values, and it's not blasting a shitload of black in there, which, could be risky. But the way she did this, man, it's going to be solid and has that contrast forever, man. It's really... courageous of her.
Yeah, good word.
Yeah, man. Nice choice, Hip.
I love it.
Thanks.
Thank you, Deanna Art.
Yes.
Much love.
Shout out.
Man, is she going to be at Evergreen this year? Do we know?
I'm not sure if he's here this year or not. I'll definitely look into it.
Did you say he?
She.
Okay.
She.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, making sure. Okay, Mike, who we got coming down the pike?
All right, next up is Josh's pick.
Okay.
I know who this is.
Yeah.
Yep. Fuck
Hang
yeah.
on.
I've learned so much. I learned a bit of information from him when he did his educational that I didn't attend because I was setting up Evergreen, but he was cool enough to let me sit with him because he was beside Cotterman. And
nice. Yeah.
So I'm going to let you go. Yep. This is yours. So go at it.
This is my boy, Robbie Latos. You've heard me say it before. One of the most innovative, exciting artists today. In a world where, like, even when people are good, they look like a handful of other people, Robbie is doing his own thing. And he has since day one. He's been to Evergreen. He taught a seminar. Incredibly humble, incredibly nice. What a true artist. This particular piece that I've chosen, the reason I chose it, one, is it's probably my favorite tattoo he's ever done. But also, we share this client. I just tattooed. This is done on Jared Glassburn, an amazing artist as well. You should check out. This was done over 2 days in a row. I believe he said it was about 8 hours a day. This is the back of his leg. Healed, it looks like it's made out of silver. It's just absolutely beautiful. The choices that he makes, though, with these, I don't even know what to call it. There's negative, right? But he's also, do you notice that there's like shaded in areas that that started out negative?
That's right.
So they kind of push back, giving you a lot of depth. Man. He has a lot of tooth to his work. Like if you look kind of close up, it's not like the smoothest work, but it's on purpose. And that's an interesting thing for a lot of tattoo artists because, whenever I'm doing like a lot of brush strokes and trying to make things look like oil paintings, I'm always thinking like, I wonder how many tattoo artists that see this think that I'm just not getting my black solid because there's certain areas that are lighter because that's what oil paint looks like. I'm always curious if anybody looks at Robbie's work and thinks, well, yeah, it's not very smooth though, because I love the way it has like some tooth and some texture to it.
Yes.
That to me is a big part of it.
And
he also
keeping all those values in such small areas.
Yes.
Like you were mentioning, like what once was negative space, now he's pushing it a little, whether it's just like 2-drop or whatever. But, so many artists, once they try to emulate what he's doing, it would, most artists couldn't pull off that many values. They might just do dark and then there's negative space, but man, that's impressive.
This tattoo would kick so many people's asses, to be honest with you.
It's kicking mine looking at
it. And he's the master of leaving skin. He's very anti-white pigment. Even even saying like if you ever rely on white to make your tattoo look good at the end, you're doing it wrong. And I do agree with that.
Yeah,
as somebody that uses a lot of white, I don't think you should ever rely on it.
Yeah.
Definitely more cake, less frosting.
Yeah.
Kind of theory.
Even though,
and seeing his work healed, it shows.
do you think there's, because I thought there was minimal whites in this piece. Are you saying there isn't?
I can't
There's no.
100% guarantee
Really?
it, but I'm going to say I don't think there's any.
Well, the
white.
reason why I thought there was,
I'll tell you why, and it's what he told me when I was watching him.
okay,
He says that if he has to use white, he's cheating or
Okay.
feels like he's cheating. And what
Okay.
he does, because he's doing that with a particular paintbrush, and when he's doing it, he's just so fucking meticulous. You remember him, right?
absolutely.
Okay.
He's a sweetheart too.
Always wore the toboggan,
Oh,
just
yeah.
fucking kicking it. And I think I remember asking him like, "Hey, how much do you charge?" And he said,
I know.
and I was like, "That's not enough."
I immediately wanted to personally take him under my wing so that he could
Right.
put proper value on himself. Yeah, I remember. This is amazing, Josh.
I wish you could see it healed too, because so I was tattooing Jared and I was super excited, and he's like, "Oh, I got tattooed by Robbie since the last time I saw you." And it like punched me in the stomach so hard that I was like less excited about tattooing him. I just wanted to keep looking at his other tattoo. You know what I mean? And learn something from it.
My God. Ooh.
Really just a true master of the craft and somebody that's bringing some originality to the game that we really need.
Yeah.
You know, it's been a while since I've seen somebody this creative and this unique.
Yeah. Well, man, if there aren't whites in this piece, then my mind's even blown harder. Just because I thought I saw some minimals. But now looking at it, if there's no white in here, the mastery that he's created by dropping a value,
Yes.
you know, whether it's on the teeth, on that face, under the neck, like there's such light values making those whites seem like a few areas as if he like went in there with some whites.
Just
Yeah.
saturates.
He just knows how to work around it
Yeah. Because
to give you that illusion.
underneath the eyeball,
You know?
we've got two, like, whether they're tear streams or whatever, right? You see those two, like, streams
Yeah.
dripping. So, looking at it, the one on the left, if you zoom in, at first looked like white, and just like he dragged a mag straight down. Yeah, I can see a mag
Right.
drag, and I love it. And I thought it was drug in whites. And if it's not, then it was the mag in that light, like,
The
wash.
Yep.
And then the skin now just looks white.
And that's what it is. I guarantee is that he, because you know how we got the like, okay, for our listeners and for you guys, Matt, I know you haven't had much experience with them because you mix your own, but Empire, they have a light, extra light is what it's called, the lowest wash.
Yeah.
I would venture to say that he is probably, like, after he's built some of his detail up, when his brush is almost completely void of ink and you can't get nothing else, he's going to hit the skin, because even if there's just a teeny bit of ink on a needle and you hit the skin, it may not look like anything, but once it heals out, how many times you ever bloodline something in like a super, super light color, and then when it comes back healed, it's like way darker than you remember it.
Yeah. Yeah, you still see it. And you always think it's not dark enough, and then you still see it healed.
Yeah.
Right?
Man. Yep.
And I can tell with all this that, I mean, there's not much trauma to the skin. I mean, it seems like barely red.
And that's 2 days.
Yeah.
That's 2 days in a
So you
row.
can see the top half he probably did on day 2 or what. It don't matter. It's so like, it looks like it'll be healed by Tuesday, you know?
Right.
Yeah. It healed flawlessly.
Yeah.
Flawlessly.
And you look and zoom in on, say, like the mouth, for instance, like even it's not blended, the dark part of the mouth, because it's got that highlight of where he just didn't saturate, and you can see the method of application in there. But it's like, you know, an unskilled person would see that and be like, he don't know what he's doing. And it's like, bro, you have
Jesus.
Exactly.
no fucking
it's like,
clue.
It's like that's one of my favorite parts.
Exactly.
And that's such an interesting topic.
Ju-
You know what I mean? We grow up hearing about holidays and tattooing, and it's like, this is on purpose. This is really, really
and
nice.
it reminds me, there was a owl last year at Evergreen that you did, and it looked holiday and like fucking like not saturated. And when I seen it, I instantly thought like thick charcoal or oil painting, and you pointed it out to me.
Right.
And I remember feeling like he thinks I'm just agree, because I was like, yeah, no, I totally get it, but I really fucking got what you were doing.
Yeah, it's tough to make those decisions. You're like, if I make it super solid black, it's going to flatten. But if I'm doing charcoal, I'm going to see these areas where I didn't push as hard, and I'm really trying to emulate a charcoal style.
Yep.
So I take that risk. But yeah, there's somebody's out there that sees my work and they think I'm just sloppy. But, that's fine.
Fuck them. Yeah, and those risks, you almost have to let your client know, especially if you're not known for it, like a lot. Like every piece you do, you don't purposely have that charcoal feel to it in the saturated blacks. And you're like, listen, it's going to look like it ain't saturated, but trust me, like it's like this for a reason, to emulate another medium.
Yeah.
Right. And I think once it all heals up, it makes a little more sense. Fresh, sometimes it looks a little rough, and then it settles when it heals.
Man, nice choice. Nice pick, Josh.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, brother. And again, I'm already happy for Robbie. Well deserved. But Mr. Lados, blessings upon you, sir. If you're watching, man, big ups.
Yeah. Everybody go like it. Everybody go like these works, please. They all deserve it.
Tattoo Guardian approved.
There you go.
All right,
All
Mike.
right. So next up is Matt's pick.
Ooh, shit.
Wow.
Okay, so something even more interesting. Guys, you can feel free in helping me pronounce this brother's name. Quang Pham.
This is probably
That's
a
what I'd
Korean dude, isn't
Yep.
it? Man, Korea's fucking killing it right now,
And
dude.
guess what? This isn't the main reason why I brought this artist in. This was just to show you his versatility, because, we're all three we appreciate realism artists.
Mm-hmm.
And this dude, in Korea, and he's mainly doing portraits. Right and left, full color portraits. And they're just phenomenally done. And he's tattooing like Korean people, or so all the portraits are light skin. So he's like fully saturating real light tones. And I think Mike's got an example of that. But when you see this guy's work, it's like he's great at full color portraits. But then you snap over and it's like, but every once in a while when he tries his hand at black and gray, this is what he does. And, I just think he's a phenomenal artist. Mike, do you have the other portrait of his?
Notice the negative in this one as well.
That's the strongest part of the entire thing.
And that's another reason I
Absolutely.
brought it in, because, even our last breakdown, Josh, you were sharing the power of negative space, and even with...
Well, imagine doing that snow.
Man.
You'd have to tattoo around all those little circles.
Man.
You're not just popping white over black. No, that's all thought out.
Yeah.
That's some serious work.
And back to values. In that scene when he's walking through the snow with all those street lights, the light that's hitting the back of his neck and the top of his shoulders, that's also with his right leg that's kicking out, right? But then, and so there's negative space around there, but then the darkness on his lower back,
And
right?
the distance of non-focus.
Come on, even on the street, and the reflective light everywhere, it gets more blurred out down the street, but then there's snowflakes in front of him yet,
And then there's one that's like super fucking close to us. It's right down by his right pocket. It's blurred the fuck out.
Yeah.
Fuck this guy.
Yeah.
Or girl.
You
Is it
know,
a guy?
I think that we can safely say that some of the best living artists are tattooing today.
Man.
How cool is that?
Man. Yeah, especially in the realm of like what most people think of when they say art. Because, there's fucking chefs out there that are killing it. But even there, maybe there's better chefs today than there ever has been. We're in a renaissance, a literal renaissance. Even I watched a video of a fucking construction worker doing this fucking drywall shit with just a fucking hammer and a blade, and was like quick and accurate and fucking precise. It was an art form, and it's like everything is just...
So cool. Just people that take pride in their work.
Can you show us that portrait he did?
He did.
The same artist? Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
So this is
Oh,
an
yeah.
example of most of his
Wow.
work. But this is so,
Man.
you know, every once in a while, he'll post a piece that I got to double check. Is that like a reference or is that a real tattoo?
Right.
You know?
It just looks like he just put a photo
Right.
on
Right.
the chest.
And a cool thing about him, when all you viewers and listeners, when you go to his page, he, with every portrait, you swipe over and he shows you the actual photograph so you can do your own comparison.
Nice.
But again, just saturating all those light flesh tones, because I feel like
Yeah.
it, you know, it's all saturated, and if it's not, you know, if it's breathing, it's but you don't even see like much irritation. You know, it's fully saturated. He's packing in light colors. He's getting nice shape on a baby face. As we know, it's even harder. There's no wrinkles or nothing. You know, it's an old man with glasses and stuff. It's hard. But on them smooth baby faces and just getting those tones, I love how he incorporated the light glow of red. It's bouncing off his shirt onto his jawline, his right cheek.
And the reflective gold coming from the hat.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, if you look, I think the only place I even see irritation is the green in the background. That's probably maybe the
Like
last
that
thing he did.
Seafoam or whatever, Equinox or whatever. But
That nibble, though.
Yeah, look at that, the hair strands.
It's so real.
yeah.
I'm impressed. Yeah, that red, the saturation on that, like the suit, you can tell it's made of like a silk. That really looks cool. It's not just red. Like I can tell the material. You know?
Yeah.
And I wonder if that it's the baby's left side, but it's our right side of the face. If that's just open flesh tone.
Right.
I was wondering the
And
same
look
thing.
at-
I'm gonna bet that it is.
Speaking of, look at the fucking ear on that side as well. And that's just proof, man. That I fucking remember I was telling you, because, okay, so Matt has always told me, like, fuck everything else but the eyes, nose, and mouth. Josh, you've confirmed it. Cotterman, I've heard him say it out of his own fucking mouth.
Well, that's his version of what we say at it, but go ahead.
Well, yeah, you know, when it comes to doing portraits or animals or whatever, anything realistic, eyes, nose, mouth is what draws you in. So, like, everything else can, like, not fuck everything else, but, like, you can start to lose focus. And this is a perfect example of that in that ear.
Yeah, because if he would have sharpened that ear, it would have lost the dynamic for his eye. You know?
Absolutely. You know, that's how humans see.
Yeah.
You know, you know, that's why do you know what tilt shift photography is? Have you guys heard of that?
Tilt shift.
It's when you make something look like a miniature. Like they'll take a picture of a scene outside, but it looks like it's tiny. And what they do is they blur the top and the bottom of the screen, and only the middle is clear. And that's because that's how when we look at miniatures, our brain does that for us. So it's mimicking that, right?
Yeah.
So when I see Matt in real life, his ears are blurry to me.
Yeah.
So we're just mimicking that. So that's very, very
And for
correct.
dynamic, and I think what we was trying to tell you, you know, I learned early on, just because you can does not mean that you should. And when I was doing a lion portrait 15 years ago, man, and I put the whites in the eyes and just a little bit on the nose, whatever I put the whites and some on the whiskers, man, it was popping. I should have just stopped right there, but that white was so banging and there's hair everywhere. So I go all around his head and put it in the mane. In this scenario, it would have been like,
Starts to
I'm going to
cancel out.
sharpen that boy's ear and lose all dynamic. Now it's flat as fuck because that ear isn't even located right next to where the eye is. It's all naturally behind the eye. So it needs to be a little more out of focus. And that's what makes you realize his face curves back. But again, if early on a realism artist wants to replicate it, so with their picture, they may go in and really detail the fuck out of that ear. But if you go too far, who gives a fuck? Because you just took the power away from the eyes. You know, and that's what I did on that lion's mane. And that's when I learned just because you can does not mean that you should. And that's what we mean by for dynamic, and the focal point on a portrait needs to be the eyes, nose, and mouth. And then that's why even when he tattooed your stepdad on you, that even when I was watching him, he almost deviated from his reference when it came to the hair. But it didn't matter because he nailed the face so much. And I remember I asked almost like an annoying question, like, Josh, are you gonna? And he's like, basically like, man, I'm a fucking artist. Watch this, you know, like, oh, but you know,
I try to live by a simple rule that I heard early on. 3 chords and the truth. So the band AC/DC. They play 3 chords and the truth. They play like A, C, and G, I think is what it is for pretty much every song.
Same with Rage,
and they sing
right?
about 3 things: sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Man.
They pointed their arrow and said, "We're doing this." It's super simple, and they're the fucking richest band in the world because they're still recording. They're still going. You know what I mean? It's like 3 chords and the truth. And I try to look at tattooing or any of my art the same way. It's hard to simplify. As humans, we want to be like, I want to be the best, so I'm going to go over and over. And you've heard me talk about it before. I went through for years. I was so obsessed with being so perfect that I would spend 8 hours on like the bottom half of a portrait. And what would happen is even if I nailed it, it was boring as fuck. You're just like, yep, that looks just like my grandma. Thanks. I want some bravado now. So 3 chords and the truth. That's a
bravado. What's that?
Bravado is like dynamic, like it just gives it like ups and downs.
Oh, I thought bravado was when a voice that's a bravado.
It
right?
also works with that. Yeah. Sure.
Okay. So ups and downs.
Way to shit on my point. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Boundaries hip. Go back and listen to last week's episode.
All of a sudden the show just ends. It's like, okay.
I don't know. Maybe I used the wrong word. Maybe bravado just sounds cool to me.
Well, now, it totally makes fucking perfect sense.
Well, yeah. Watch Josh, just from this podcast, Josh just posted a whole new, like, viral hashtag fucking, if a tattoo's dope as fuck, now it's hashtag bravado. That shit, boy. Right. That shit, bravado, boy.
Everybody out there, start using that.
That's almost a dope fucking rap name. Bravado.
Who we got next, Mike?
MC Bravado.
Up next is Hips Pick.
Sounded like you said something else.
Hey. So.
Holy shit.
Yeah. This dude.
This blew my mind when I saw
this.
This
is this person's very first tattoo ever. And
already unbelievable. People, well, you just said that. I wonder how many listeners don't believe you. Like, where you say that? This is this gentleman's first time ever doing a tattoo?
Ever.
My God.
On a human.
My God.
Did a couple grapefruits.
Yeah.
He is actually one of our apprentices, one of the best apprentices that I've ever had the pleasure to fucking have served with and served for.
Yeah.
Hands down, and this is a bold statement, but I've seen some of his secrets locked away at his house when he was living up here. He is probably the best artist and oil painter I've ever met in my entire life. Yeah. And I've took a Dave Gluck seminar. And
when I was out at the studio tattooing you hip, there's a lot of paintings there. And they were just like mind-numbingly beautiful.
Dude, in those, he simply took a picture of me when I was tattooing and fucking 2 hours later, with no stencil, just did that.
Right next to him. It set an easel up right there while he was tattooing. Painted me one day while I was tattooing. Amazing. So this is our brother Ross Shue. Shout out to brother Ross Shue. I love you, man. We love you, brother. Speaking of apprentices, this is how bad Ross wanted it. He don't even live in Ohio, but he wanted to learn from us. Lives in North Carolina. And he's got a wife and several kids, 4. And he literally, and it was about an 8-hour drive. He got another second place to live here in Ohio to apprentice with us. And him and his wife would take turns commuting every couple weeks to visit the family. He'd go back down to visit. They'd come up here. And he made a 3-year commitment, not only to do this, but to be away from his family. And he was such a quick study and such a golden heart. He got through it a lot quicker.
No, I mean, he still had a good...
I mean, he had a 3-year commitment.
Right.
He had a decent apprenticeship.
Yeah.
You know, at least 8 months.
I think it was over a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
When he was with us for 2 years total, I remember the 3rd year, it was like, dude, go back to your family. And he's down there kicking ass. But he was a college professor teaching art and oil painting for years. And so he already had an understanding and is a phenomenal oil painter and had been a professor for years. And he decided to quit teaching, learn the art of tattooing. So for all of you mentors and leaders, this is because we've talked about this on the show before, like depending on the individual, starting people out, you know, there could be different options. But this is like overboard. This is unheard of. I've never heard of anyone letting them start their first tattoo and just attempt a full color portrait. Ironically enough, Josh, at the time, he was more intimidated to do a traditional piece than this portrait because it was...
It makes sense. He's so comfortable with that,
comfortable to where normally we'd have someone just do a simplistic, like basic outline and color in, but he was more scared of that than attempting full on realism. And I was like, yeah.
I remember he did this, and then the next day had to do some black and gray, and he shit trucked it. And was just like real down, and I was just remember thinking like, yes, yes,
got a little humility, you know.
Well, and that dude fucking has
humble pie,
the humblest ever, heart of a servant, fucking very intellectual, very healthy, down to do anything, can fucking go and mountain bike with me and then go to the bar with Joey and fucking slam shots and drink fucking certain types of fucking weird nerd hippie beer.
And then come in the morning, clean the whole shop and take out Zach's dry cleaning and polish all his shoes and like everything.
And he can run lines.
Yeah.
So if you go over to his page, definitely give this dude a follow, ross.shoe.
Yeah. And he's only been tattooing, what, maybe 3 years now?
Yeah. And he'll take on anything. Yeah, letters, fucking trad, fucking whatever. He'll take it on.
And this particular piece is of a gentleman I love dearly by the name of Clarence Avant. And if you're not familiar with this man, I suggest you go to Netflix and watch his documentary. It's called The Black Godfather. To this day, I can't watch that documentary without crying. I just love this man. And everything he's done for the music industry. Chances are your favorite pop, R&B, or rap artist, Clarence had something to do with it. Even Michael Jackson. I mean, but he's been, even Bill Withers. He's the one that brought Bill Withers in the game. Clarence has been bringing us the best musicians from the 50s till now. So yeah, check out The Black Godfather. And last but not least, this tattoo is on yours truly. It's on my inner calf, right next to my shin. I usually have every apprentice at Aisle 9 do their first tattoo on me, unless they have a significant other that wants to have the first. And so this was, I got a whole leg of apprentice tattoos. This is an apprentice tattoo. Ross Shoe's first tattoo.
And look how he let it fucking breathe.
Yep.
Yeah.
At this time when
collar,
he did this,
the negative collar,
I was 6 or 7 years in and fucking still couldn't fucking let it breathe, and he just did it naturally, and I'm like, motherfucker.
Yeah.
And it works, and it holds up.
Matt, do you remember my reaction when you showed me this tattoo in person?
I don't.
I just started laughing.
Did you?
Like really hard. And you were like confused by that. Like you were like, what? What's so funny? And I'm like, that's just ridiculous.
Man, dude.
That's ridiculous, you know?
Yeah. And so those of you that, since you've seen this, and if you see us Guardians out at a show, if you want to see how this healed, because it looks great, just holler and I'll drop my pants. Yes.
Canceled.
Canceled. Thank you, Mike. Who else we got? Nice pick, Hip.
Thank you.
See, that's why I love playing. That was a fun surprise. I did not know you were going to pick someone I knew, let alone a tattoo on me. You know? Real fun.
Real quick before the next picture comes up, or it's fine if it does, but I've got my iPad open so I can see both of these tattoos, the one from Quang Pham as well as the one that Ross did on you. And it's so cool to see it because, yes, the one from Quang Pham is super smooth and incredible, but it's so cool, even though it's an apprentice tattoo, the grit on the one that Ross did. And I guess at the end of the day, it's just about whatever your taste is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, I can appreciate them both, you know?
Yeah, I love that you brought that up. You're right, you know? Both of those in their own way are 3 chords on the truth.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right, this one is Josh.
I know this. You showed this in your seminar.
I did. So
Wow.
this is an example. So this is an artist who's relatively new on the scene, I should say. I'm not sure how long she's been tattooing. Her name is Victoria Lee.
Jeez.
She originally started out as doing some of the most phenomenal black and gray I'd ever seen, to the point that you question if it was like photoshopped. But she's got lots of video and stuff that's clearly taken in like, just outside light, and it's the real deal. She started doing color and kind of she would post it and say, I'm still a student of color, I'm still learning, but it's at this level. The reason I bring this tattoo up, in my opinion, this is the closest I've ever seen a tattoo look like an oil painting. And when I say, so it's more than just adding brush strokes to the background to make it look like an oil painting.
Yeah.
If you blow it up, and I did this in my class with Hip, particularly her bracelet, notice how it's like fuzzy on the edges. Now, again, we need to see how this stuff holds up over time. Pigments and machines and needles are really good these days. I don't think we're going to like lose the tattoo. I can see that she, as she learns, she may want to change a couple of things. But my gosh,
No shit.
this tattoo, and if you go to her Instagram later, the reference from this has like lines through it where the printer was running out of ink, and it's just like the most basic whatever.
Jesus.
And everybody in the comments is like, when the tattoo is better than the picture,
Right.
and it absolutely is.
My God. John.
The subtle shifts, like this looks like a masterworks oil painting to me.
Yeah.
Victoria Lee tattoo on Instagram. Every picture will make you want to quit tattooing.
Man. 5 minutes ago, I
Take
was
it.
a Quang
Yeah.
Pham fan. But now.
This is ridiculous, right? This is ridiculous.
Uh-huh.
This is like, I always just kind of say, go to her Instagram, take the beating you're going to get, and then like shake it off and say, okay, now she's raised the bar.
Jesus.
Now I'm gonna step it up.
I love it.
Because here's the secret, guys. All of these tattoos that we're showing you, you can do this. Here's the thing. I'm going to lay it out for you really simply. If you want to be at this level and beyond, don't let anyone ever outwork you. Ever. There's your answer.
My God. And while you're in that mode, just skip our pooch episode so that you can at least feel like no one's going to outwork you.
Because you're not going to outwork Pooch. Exactly. You're right. Good luck with that. Yeah.
It's wild too, guys. I think she let that whole forehead breathe. Like the wrinkles in between her eyebrows are going up, and then boom, no more ink.
It's just incredible.
Yeah.
Her decision making.
Yeah.
And every tattoo on her page is just, every time you're just like, what?
Yeah.
What? It doesn't matter if it's color, black and gray. She tends to use really poor reference. She doesn't seem to care if it's an old photo. Most people would turn it down. She's like, I got you.
Yeah.
And just unbelievable.
She's got some St. Mark in her
Victoria-
blood, huh?
And she
She
does.
just fucking.
See, now, if you're, because I can see it now too. The forehead does not look saturated at all.
The whole thing's breathing. Like,
Well, she just got,
Yeah, it tricks
okay,
you.
so she puts the white up above the fucking eyebrow. Like,
well, follow the wrinkles the 3 wrinkles in between her eyebrows.
Yeah.
And to the left of them is tattoo ink, shaded. And so even up her whole eyebrow is to give something to contrast those whites.
Now, how's that white, or how are
There's-
those subtle tones? I wonder what they'll look like, though, in 10 years. And I'm just being the
that's where
devil's
I'm at as well.
advocate.
Yeah.
Because this is amazing.
Yeah. I don't think it'll fall apart and look like crap or anything, but I'm sure it won't look this amazing.
Right.
Now, you could argue with that as well and say, well, yeah, I do tattoos that they'll need another pass in a few years. And as long as you're upfront about that with your client, I don't see a problem.
Right.
Right.
I don't see a problem taking it to that level if you and your client have that goal in mind.
And Josh, I'm with you. Not only is this like make you like be able to breathe and exhale with the feel good that you're looking at a real oil painting. That just, that feeling that only oil paintings can give you, where you're already just like, oh my God, the richness of it. But also the fact that she's still nailing it on the realism and how things
Look at
are
that
so
hand.
natural. Like if we look at her lips, you know, there's, like you mentioned, the bracelet, there's fuzziness around them because they're natural. And I just love, like, because so many artists would get in there around them lips with a liner,
God damn it.
Yes.
you know?
Man, what was it? You fucking, I did that piece a couple fucking weeks ago, and he was pulling out of the car, and I come out, and he was like, killer piece, man. Precision, line work, fucking was great. Saturation, great. You're a realism artist. Like, you just fucking all the way around a killer artist. And I was like, yeah, except I got the realism part down. Because he just said that, and that fucking hurt, because I'm the dude that gets the liner out at the fucking all that shit. And
Yeah.
but it's having me and it's shit like this that, Josh, it hurt too when you showed this and was pointing all that shit out in the soft edges, and I was just like, in my head already, the tattoo I did that day, fucking, I hated it and wasn't feeling it, and then I got on there and just got more of an ass beating, even though it wasn't personally directed towards me. But you listen to a master point out shit and you're like, God damn it. You know, it makes me regrettable, like, why couldn't I have noticed this first? And then I have to remind myself, like, oh, you don't know until you're taught something. So it was just more truth that I needed to fucking hear, you know? God damn it, Hip, soften that shit up. There's no fucking lines.
And I think that's why we're doing this, you know, this podcast like this, is to kind of open up the forum for everybody to talk about the different options there are.
And it's hard knowing when and when not, because if we look at her right eye, so looking at it would be the eyeball on your left, but it's her right eye, how the corner of her right eye, and then the wrinkle underneath. When you're just tattooing that, and we've talked about this in the past with Josh, the temptation to want to smooth that is like really high, but she didn't, and we back out because that was needed. Now, if you notice on her other eye, you know, there's more wrinkle detail and softer. But, you know, the fact that she had the balls to not smooth that out, because you can tell the lips are so smoothed out, but that's what the piece called for. But knowing when and when not to, and having the courage to follow it through is still a challenge.
Yeah, she's somebody who I would bet a lot of money she went to art school.
My God. Well, that's a great pick, Josh.
Thank you.
Jeez. What's the artist's name one more time?
Victoria Lee. It's Victoria Lee Tattoo on Instagram.
Awesome. Jeez. We could just do a whole show on her. But
dude, I'm just looking at all these pieces we picked, and I was like, why am I still tattooing?
Man,
I don't like these anymore.
Yeah, but that's, you know, there are some people, even though Club Oceano exists, are still gonna go to McDonald's. You're good, Hip.
Right.
Just kidding.
Right.
Oh man.
Hip _81, the McDonald's of tattooing.
No, and that's not true at all. Man,
I'm at least a Rally's.
Can I get a 10-piece?
Yeah, that's right.
I'm at least a Del Taco.
Hey, you be doing them $5 tap outs. Yeah. Okay, Mike, who we got coming, brother?
All right, you're up next, Matt.
Oh, I like the
you
piece.
sent several of this artist, and I'm going to
several
send
of
them
this
to
artist,
you.
and this wasn't the top one I picked. I just picked this for you, Hip, knowing that you're such a turtle fan.
Hell yeah.
Kozo _tattoo on Instagram. Do you guys know this artist?
No.
He's a Bang Bangs, right?
Yes.
Is he?
Yeah. And I don't think he always was, but he is now, and I guess I don't. But Kozo from Bang Bang in New York City.
That whole thing's done with mag drags.
Well, and Mike, can you go ahead and drop us another one? Well, there's so many things about this artist's work that I love. Talk about mix-ups.
I love the crown on top, the way he put the crown on there.
Yes.
Such a cool idea. Or like the blue over the eyes.
So he's doing
creative.
mix-up in mediums, looks of mediums and styles and layout. Like there's illustrative in his piece. There's realism in his piece. There's oil painterly stuff going on in his pieces. And then just, you know.
It's interesting when you first see it, it's like, it looks cool, but it's not like as jaw-dropping as this other stuff. Right. And then the more you look at it, the more you realize how amazing it is.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Okay, this piece right here with the flowers coming out of the head.
So Mike just sent us Even if you go to the one with the picture frame and the people kissing, because that gives you
Wow.
an oil
Yeah.
painting feel. But another thing that's impressive is what this artist pulls off, and they're all smaller pieces. You know, like, you know, they're not big and oversized. Even though this one's a decent size, but you can see his hand next to it. But that screams like kind of old.
Renaissance.
Yeah. But again, just the layout, because he's got, I think, bravado in every layout,
Absolutely.
you know, of his piece and dynamic. Now, if we move on, do you guys see the one with the statue head down and then the that famous painting leaned against it? Now we got script in the back,
Yeah,
and then a
that's crazy.
sketch on the floor. Are you guys seeing that one?
Starry Night,
The Starry Night painting. It's like a fully oil painted Starry Night just leaning against, you know, this statue head. And then there's like a sketch of paper, or it looks like maybe, you know, another, that famous artist drawing sketch laying on the floor with a pen. And then just a dude on top with the, you know, the lettering in the background. So again, there's just talk about dynamics just with the layout, you know, and how it's all pieced together.
And that dude's actually rubbing off the writing.
Yeah.
Is what he's starting to do. He's
Yeah,
got like a bucket and a sponge.
That's awesome.
Right. Which is great because it says what we do in life echoes in eternity. And he's trying to undo that, you know, but yeah. And then the last one, you know, is kind of a classic with, you know, the woman's head with some floral coming out, but it's a lot of cool smaller pieces, stipple shading as well. I just think it's riddled with style. It's got a touch of elegance. It's got a touch of class. And yeah, if you go check out Kozo's work, there's all kinds of really dope, tiny like micro paintings and stuff that, again, just like is like chicken soup for the soul. Just to look at it, like helps me breathe. Like, that's nice, you know.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Mr. Carlton?
I'm a big fan of this style of work. You know, we've been talking a lot about longevity in tattooing today, and obviously there's some questions with some of this as well.
Yeah.
But artistically, it's incredible. It's incredibly clean. Bang Bang is notorious for himself as well as his crew doing these ridiculously small, clean tattoos. I would love to do something like this, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I'd love to try my hand
I'm
at
saying,
it. You know?
whatever your style or version of this style would be a fucking dope. You know.
It'd be cool to do.
Yeah.
If anybody out there's listening, they want something like this, hit me up.
Yeah.
What's your Instagram again? No.
Hashtag bravado.
And for the
Mr.
record,
Bravado Josh.
you know, and I don't know this guy from Adam, so, you know, or this artist that's, you know, which is cool. That's two if you've brought an artist up that you actually know personally tonight, which is cool. And who knows? Maybe I'll get to know Kozo or Quang, you know. Okay, Mike.
All right, hips up next.
This is funny. Bam! Me and Josh were right on the money.
Oh my God, you guys did
I
pick.
almost posted this.
Holy shit. Shout
This
out
is
to
actually-
Robbie Latos again.
The winner.
And here's what's so funny about it is this is my favorite tattoo he's ever done. I'll let you talk about it, but this tattoo fucked my day up.
Dude, totally. Because,
That's healed also.
yeah. And the fucking mag lines and the, I think Josh used this about Ross, the grit of it
Jesus.
purposely.
Yes.
Like the fucking hallucinogenic tracer effect. And it's what this reminded me of when I seen this. First off, I was like, fuck you, Robbie Latos. And then I zoomed in and I was like, this is like the print on a dollar bill. When you zoom in on a dollar
Exactly.
bill.
type vibe.
What a good way to describe his work.
Yeah.
Absolutely. God, this tattoo pisses me
And
off.
again, if you're saying there's no white ink in there,
None. And I may be wrong, Robbie. If I'm wrong, fucking make a comment or something, man, DM us. But
I think you're right.
I don't believe there is any
Well, let's
white
stop
ink
right
in
here. Whether there is or not, it don't fucking matter. This piece is mind blowing. It's not like, oh, there is white in there, so it's not that. You know what I'm saying? But even knowing
I believe
that there
this
is,
tattoo was on his apprentice.
yeah, really?
I believe so.
Oh, okay.
I think I'm, I may be taken away from Hip's story here.
Oh
but
no,
from what I
you're
understand,
good, man. I fucking
I think whenever he has an apprentice and they graduate, if I remember right, he tattoos them like something from their favorite artist, something like that.
Ooh, love that.
So not only does this person get to learn from an incredible master, but they get to wear the best tattoo ever.
Jesus.
So good.
Well,
that's a cool thing to fucking do for an apprentience.
I
The
know.
graduation.
Yeah, bless him with the tattoo. I wonder if he charges them. I'm just kidding. Mr. Carlton, I want to hear more of like when you start out and said this tattoo fucked me up, fucked my day up. Can
Yeah.
you speak more to that?
Yeah, for me, I do, like probably all of you do that are listening. We just scroll through tattoos on our free time, and I'm constantly impressed. But at the same time, a lot of times I do say, I can't even tell these apart. There's a lot of European artists that are amazing, and a lot of their work is it's very similar. It's incredible. It's super saturated. I'm seeing a lot of the same tattoos done over and over again, which we're really all guilty of. But Robbie just always seems to bring the heat, an originality. Like he could have just done a portrait, but look at the way he did the eyes.
Yeah.
He didn't do the entire face that way. It's mainly the eyes, a little bit of the head, but it's what Hip said, how it looks more like a dollar, like the balls it takes to tattoo like that,
Jesus.
the skill it takes to tattoo like that.
Yeah.
It's just such an example. The way he did the sizing of it, the fit,
Yeah.
everything about it, the contrast from the hat to the collar to the face being lighter. There's just kind of no wrong. It's just every single thing about it I'm in love with.
In the hat, like it's like so scratchy packed in that if you didn't know, you'd be like, oh, it's just fucking not smooth or
it's just
blended.
like
and it's like, well, duh, it's supposed to be.
Yeah, it's just like we talked about. And I love that there's artists out there that are doing this because, I always talk about somebody, giving permission. Robbie gives me permission to know, hey, there's a school of us out there that are doing this, Like, it doesn't have to be so insanely saturated if it's on purpose. But the grittiness is what gets me. If I could start over again and get tattoos like this, I'd do it in a heartbeat.
Man. Well, and again, on top, I second everything you boys just said, but I'm still on top of all that, or along with it, just really impressed with the control of his light values consistent through the whole piece. You know what I'm saying? Like, to still keep that much light values where it needs to be, but still keep the texture and being able to control the values being that consistent all the way through. Because anyone, if you put the blacks in the right spot, whether it's, most people, a lot of people can at least get the darks right, even though that's still a battle for a lot. But then bringing out and then with all those light tones, especially mastering up to the negative space, is just like next level shit.
Yeah, because if you look at his nose and zoom in on his nose, there's negative shapes that are the highlights that he just fucking let roll. Like it almost looks like a fucking lowercase cursive E almost on the tip of the nose, and it's just empty, and just the subtlety, the fucking subtlety of it. And then you look right next to the fucking cheek that's the furthest in the 3/4 view, and you see all those mag line.
Amazing.
And I think too, for me, the reason I get so geeked out about Robbie is that he comes to Evergreen, so I see a lot of his work healed.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to describe. It's just it truly glows. The skin comes through as if he did master using white, and he's showing us, hey, the skin is white enough. If you, for the lighter skin clients at least, if you do it correctly, you don't need to rely on that white or anything like that. And it's really taught me to dial back how much white I'm using. as far as highlights go and stuff.
I quit putting white anytime I do a black and gray. Now, if I do opaques, I use it. But when I do black and grays, I don't even use white anymore. Yeah. And I remember hearing that when Chris was still there and me and him would talk about it. And I'm like, well, Robbie Lato says it's cheating, so I'm not doing it.
Right. I still put it like in highlights and stuff like that. And I do see the power of it. But, Robbie's he's just got it so dialed in. And if you look at any artwork, like, you mentioned David Gluck earlier. He's a good example. Like if you look at paintings, and I know that we're tattoo artists, but we are getting closer to being painters on skin. It just has to be done correctly. It has to be tattooed correctly. There's a subtlety to paintings. There's not a ton of white highlights all over paintings.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Nice pick, Hip, and I love that you guys picked the same fella.
I was gonna say that when Josh's came up first, and I was like, nah, I'll let it be a surprise.
Thank you.
It's just funny because that was the one I was going to pick. And then I saw the one that he did on Jared. And since I actually saw that in person, I was like, no, I'm going to do this one. And I'm pretty sure when mine came up with Jared's tattoo, I think I said that's my favorite tattoo Robbie's ever done. And now here I am saying it again with this one. So there you go.
Yeah.
I just love his work.
Yeah. And you didn't say it indefinitely because I think you caught yourself either alluded to it's one of the, or you said might be, Okay, Mike, who we got next?
All right, Josh is up next.
Oh, yeah, I've seen this. There's a video of the...
Yeah, the video really gives it the power because he's kind of like unfolds himself.
Wow.
Like he's kind of all bent over in the dark, and when he kind of stretches out, the way the tattoo moves is so good. And there's a couple of reasons I chose this as well. I've done several large back pieces, and it's really risky to make a face that big on a back. It can really distort weird. Usually you end up having like really big eyes, and then the face gets kind of small and looks super funky. The fact that this like lays out so correctly, proportionately and everything it's pretty impressive to me.
My God.
I'd love to see this tattoo in person.
Mm-hmm.
This is done by Black Sanchez, aka his real name is Adrian Sanchez. He was made Black Sanchez. I believe he's from Madrid, Spain. He's also an incredible painter. He paints like really high realism, but it's like giant scale. Yeah. So like he's got a portrait of I think Nipsey Hussle, but it's like 6 foot tall. But he's got, every little pore on the skin. It's really amazing.
Wow. So good. Yeah, his lighting is great.
I've always been a fan of like the bloody wet look. I think that he's really done a good job on this.
Yeah.
Especially the further the hands get, like the ones up at the top of the fucking...
That's what I was about to say. The fingers that's crunching around the forehead. He went so dark, but then that's where the white really can come in to help you with that wetness,
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, because it looks like they just had their hands in a pile of guts.
Yeah.
The other ones, because it gives that feel around the lips. That's just dried blood that's there, and the hands that are coming from the other side, like they're just stained from being in blood. But the ones on the far that go off in the distance, they just look wet and like dripping blood.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like it's easy to just go, oh, I know how to do blood, and like everything looks wet, but like he's got like Hip said, like dried scabs, wet blood. He's also got like smeared blood. He paid a lot of attention to this.
Yeah.
As a tattooer, imagine doing this tattoo. This is some hard shit.
I wonder how long this took. I would be curious to know like how many sessions this was, because
I'm hoping it's like 100 hours. That would make sense to me.
Oh yeah, I mean, who knows? That could be more.
If he tells me he did it in 2 days or something, I'm done.
Huh. Well, and something else is cool. It's talking about tones, because here we are, red with red with red. But it's creating
Apparently it works.
So many different values. But I love, like, when he's creating his values on the actual face, that it looks like, from the middle of his nose around his eye sockets, seems like he's using grays, maybe even like some cool grays in there, but then around the nose and in the tongue, it goes to warm grays. Looks like he's using warm and cool in different spots.
Yeah.
But if you look around on his tongue, I just love it. That looks like that warm, gray where it's got like purplish undertones.
Yeah.
You know, like dark to mid warm gray, and then that warm gray is like shading the sides of his nose and his nostrils. But then when you get right into like his eye ducts, then either that's just straight grays, or I'm almost seeing
blue,
some blues, so it goes a little cool right there. But what do you think, John?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I think there's a lot of like maybe even color washes over saturation. Like, you know, he's laid down a foundation possibly in another session, and then he's washed over some of these colors to get that like see-through subtlety. And I have found that you can use a color wash to a degree if it's laid over a foundation.
Yeah.
Like if you just put a color wash on skin, like you're gonna lose some of it over time. But if you go to his Instagram, which is _Black Sanchez _ check out the video of this, because like I said, he starts out kind of hunched over and he like slowly stretches out, and just the way it moves with it does that thing to me where it makes me feel like a kid watching like a magic trick, you know. Like you get that.
And Mike, you can show
feeling,
our viewers the video, can't you?
Yep.
Cool.
I was planning on
And you know, like looking at it, it almost. Well, I mean, I'm sure this is probably something from a movie. And if it is the screenshot, this is what I believe happened. And he stayed true to it, which I appreciate, because I wouldn't have had the balls to do it. I would have kept trying to get the perfect screenshot. But the closest thing to us in this is the hands that are pulling the mouth down. And they're so blurry and out of focus that if you block everything else out, it doesn't even look like fingers or hands.
Yeah.
But the fingers that are like up by the eyeballs are so much more in focus. But, you know, as they go off, they completely disappear.
Yeah.
But the main focus is the eyes, the nose, the teeth, then that bottom lip, them hands you can't even really make out. He left them blurry, almost like it was caught in action. And he screenshotted it as like, I don't know, those hands were like pulling the jaw off or pulling it down. And he blurred out the closest thing.
Well, yeah, I'm glad we've got other references, i.e. hands all around his head, so that I could even tell what the fuck that was down there.
Right.
You know?
Because right, when you cover it up, you're like, I don't even know what's going on down there. But then you reveal the rest, and you're like, oh, that's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And it's one of those scary things where me, you know, here I come busting out a fucking liner.
And just to, you know, because even on them soft lips, and I immediately said there's no liner, I don't know. For all we know, that whole thing was all done with a liner. It's how the liner was used, kind of like the girl you brought to us.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought that whole oil painting leg sleeve was done with a liner.
Right.
So it's the softness. You can just tell it wasn't purposely lined lips, right? And because, doesn't mean you can't use a liner.
Yeah, you can use a liner like a small pencil or a paintbrush, you know.
Right.
It doesn't have to line.
Right. Just want to make that distinction from all our listeners. You can use liners and still do realism, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I try to, but
great choice again. And again, it's I hope, Mr. Sanchez, that you are honored and blessed. Out of all the tattoo artists in the world, Mr. Carlton picked you as one of his top 3 to share today. You know?
I think he deserves every bit of credit.
My God.
He's amazing.
Congrats.
There's so many amazing tattooers out there. It's crazy.
Man.
yeah, we could
It's like
probably
Hip said,
do
we're
this
going
until
through a
we
renaissance.
retire, just pulling up 3 of our favorites every week.
Yeah, and I'm sure
It's a good way to make you hungry.
Man.
Good way to what?
To make you hungry to
Oh,
create,
yeah.
you know, to get better.
Well, and I'm sure all our viewers can understand these are real hard choices to narrow it down. Like, we could do this every week, bring another 3 badasses to you, you know.
I think the next.
Yeah, let us know.
I was good.
Let us know in the comments, guys, if you like this type of format. You know, like who are some artists that you want to see, and is this something you enjoy? I love doing this.
I think it would be cool. Like next time we do this, it would be like there can be no realism because we're all 3 realistic artists and painters.
It's different, and who knows? Yeah, you're right. On purpose, because I knew I was bringing. That's why, like, Kozo wasn't just realism, right? And I almost brought a lettering guy in today, but I decided because I know we'll do another one of these. But last time you brought up Winston the Whale.
Yeah,
you know.
which I still love that word.
Which I love so much.
But there, you know, and maybe that was just me because like I realized once we started recording, I'm like, damn, I ain't got no fucking illustrative or trad people in there, which I am so fucking inspired by. But yeah, irregardless,
we got to do another one of these.
Yeah, got to do another one.
Yep.
Yeah.
But there's one more, isn't there, Matt?
Yeah, and it's probably realism.
Yep, this is the last one.
Last one for today. Okay.
Yep, it's Matt's pick. I swear I look at her work at least once a week.
Do
just
you?
To scroll through her page. She's amazing.
Animal tattooer.
_ tattooer.
Okay. And Mike, you seem to know that this artist happens to be a female. You refer to it as a she.
Yep.
Girl, shout out. Do the damn thing. Damn.
I believe. Maybe I shouldn't assume.
Well, one thing you can't assume is they can fucking tattoo.
My God. So,
Yeah, I'm looking at the cat, like the kitty cat, and notice the background above the berries, like how it's like a slightly out of focus.
come on, brother.
What a smart move.
Yeah.
Wow. Because the tattoo is like beautiful. Like you can just kind of do whatever you want up there. And it's like, oh, guess what? I'm going to make it still fucking badass.
Yes. And how it's emulated on the card right next to it with those scribble hearts. And then it's almost like a big drop shadow of a gray wash heart behind it, but it's emulating, you know. I just love how she played off the height. I love the placement of this cat, how it's cocked a little. This is all looks like, you know, and how the dynamic of how she ends it on top, and then in the bottom has got a negative space heart down there.
I like the touch of blue
Yeah.
right above the cat's head.
Yeah.
And also that same blue carries on underneath the eyes.
That's right.
Shit. And in the ear.
My God.
Just a little more grayed out, I feel.
You know, back
just
above
a
those
little bit.
berries, whether it starts out with like an olive and goes to like a sage green, and then and as it fades, you know, I just love that it like it's the color changes, you know, at least 3 times on that loop.
Just such a smart tattooer, you know.
Man, you know, Josh, the negative space that's, you know, splitting from the card and the berries right off the top of the cat's head, that negative space shooting up, and then down the bottom left at around, you know, 7 o'clock, the negative space flow out of the whiskers. Again, that's just creating some
I was thinking that
movement.
earlier.
And right under the chin, a negative space. So like, since it's angled, there's different plays on heights and negative space. It's got nice flow, movement, but yet in the middle is like a stillness to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, for
Incredible edges. I think
Go ahead, brother.
I think this is where I'm at with where my brain is at as far as like what I appreciate in tattooing currently is because people are so good today.
Come on.
You know, like you have to stand out with something like this. You have to be incredibly smart and artistic and have, you know, play with your edges and stuff like that. Like it takes a lot to stand out nowadays.
Yeah.
Mike, I'd hate to be in your shoes. Just starting to tattoo right now, like look what you're up against. Holy shit.
Or look where you can start. Well, it's gotten
That's true.
to this
What a
point.
great way to look
you
at
can
it,
start
yeah.
from here. You know, I love that you bring that up, Josh, because we've said it so many times on the show, making distinctions. And you know how we always use the analogy, set down 5 of the world's greatest portrait artists, give them all the exact same portrait, same size, all the same colors. We all know 5 of them are going to kick ass. How are we going to choose which one's the best? And we've always said how they leave it, what they do around it, the dynamic. And this to me is a perfect example. If you take this kitty cat and gave it to 3 or 4 other realism artists and just the picture, the face of that cat, and they can all do a cat, right? Even if they say like, and then you can, the other ingredients is to incorporate some berries and a card with hearts, however you want to do it. I just got a feeling this one would have won because of the creativity of what was done around the portrait. While the portrait was executed well, we know other people would kill that portrait and do it just as well, but however they leave it might not be half as creative.
Yeah.
And if this client never gets another tattoo, it's not like, oh, I'll need to finish my sleeve. That's so fucking dope. If the client never got anything else, it's like such a great piece of body art because of how it lends itself to and leaves itself into the rest of the body. Talk about.
Yeah, I'd almost want to not take away from it by making it.
No shit, I would. If this client came to me, I'd be like, let's tattoo you somewhere else. Talk about letting it breathe and then forever. Like,
yeah,
my God, it's a negative space that goes out forever. It's just like so well done and creative. This is the shit that geeks me out because even this is like now looking at it, it's like I can decode it, but I can admit I wouldn't have probably thought to do that. And I love her for it. Animal tattooer, animal_tattooer. Shout out to you. You're one of my top picks this week. And then, so the other was that tiger. You guys saw that one too, though.
Leopard.
Or the leopard.
Yeah.
And again, this more is the values, the color tones, this is big oversized and it's really well done. But what I'm most impressed with is the lighting and the tone. What do you think, Josh?
Yeah, it almost has like that like Avatar look. It's so like glowy and lit up. I love the way that it looks like maybe even though it's lit up, maybe it's at night. Like maybe it's a campfire that lights it up. Like look at the nose, how dark the nose is.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful.
Yes. My God.
It's one of those things, even if you like don't like, if you wouldn't want a tattoo of a cat, maybe you would after you saw this.
My God. And even what she did with those yellows and where she put them was ballsy. Meaning like, even hip, if you had this leopard printed out and you knew you was going to make that eye yellow or golden, then to decide to take your yellow and blast it all the way across the bridge of the nose would be scary for people to do.
No, I'd have done it.
I'm
Joking.
Yeah, it's just beautiful. Yeah. Okay, Mike, you said we got one more and I just gave it to the boys. Did you screenshot this? But will you be able to play the video for our viewers or either way? Can you send the boys the video?
This one too.
Or no?
It'd take too much time right now.
Okay, because this is like a video that's got panoramic stuff. It goes around and it shows you
I've seen
a little bit more, but I'll let you guys give me your feedback on this one before I just nut ride hard.
Well, first of all, I'm not sure how to pronounce the name. Is it Ilia Fomini?
Ooh, I'm glad you're trying.
Ilia Fomine?
Ilya Fominya.
Ilya. I bet you it's Ilya.
Ilya.
So I'm creeping on this person's page a lot because all of the work is just, it just looks incredible. Master at the blurry bokeh background, master at saturation. And if you notice, there's a lot of videos of him working. He looks like he's just having a blast. Like tattooing is just the most effortless, fun thing in the world for him, which it shows. And I almost chose this tattoo as well. I was going through his stuff. There's also an ant that he's working on that's in progress, and it's real blurry in the background. It's just incredible. Like I feel like I can saturate color really well. I became obsessed with it, but this is on a level that I'm not even sure if I could do quite that strong.
And the depth of field, I'm counting like almost 5 layers behind it.
I know, right?
Like
what'd that stencil look like?
Man. And like you said, the mastering, I'm like, what's sharp and in focus and what's blurred out? And then there's layers of blurred out. But this is in black and gray piece, so it's not just the blurred outness, but getting the values right with real tone and color. Like for that richness, man, it's just like real impressive. And we'll just finish the bottom of it with no contrast, no background. I mean,
yeah. We'll just let the tail come down.
And guess what else? We're not even going to line it in black,
right?
Which so many people would do.
100% works.
Yeah, jeez. It's like
And this is that thing where like, was the client cool with that, or they did they get that amazing of a tattoo, and then they texted him and they're like, yeah, you didn't finish the background. Boundaries,
man. And it's like, I love it. Like going brown. And if you see like off that tail, the closest fin to it is darkened, right? And so you see that hip?
Yes.
The fin is darkened. And it's so close to the tail, most artists would want to carry that dark right to the tail. But just because you can does not mean you should. It would have lost dynamic. The fact that the tail isn't lined as dark as the fin next to it, and again, that takes courage to let ride, and it's fucking really working.
Look at that subdued, like, periwinkle highlight on the top of the fish.
Jesus, dude.
The bubbles too, like instead of just like perfectly round generic cheesy bubbles, like that looks like actual bubbles underwater.
In motion. Yep.
Yeah.
Flobbing
absolutely.
around. That's what you would.
And underneath
flobbing.
the, you know, and again, I love it too. Again, dynamic. So like Josh just pointed out, the highlight on its head, you know, it's got a little white glow, but it's periwinkle. Now the highlight on underneath its mouth on its bottom side is thick as fuck and bright as fuck. And again, to just put it there, and I guarantee so many artists, when they put it there, it'd be like, whoa, that just made it pop. And they would want to put it somewhere else.
All over the gills.
You know?
Let's make the gills shine. Ruin the tattoo.
Right.
I've done it so many times.
And guess what? It had lost so much of its power, you know, especially the water droplets, you know. And so it just works. There's a nice fucking balance. But below that highlight, and his smallest little fin has got like glowing light behind it, which I just think just that little section is fucking powerful. You know?
It's gorgeous.
And the richness of all these tones and how they're going together, like even all the tones that are on the fish, from the reds and the pinks to the fucking purple, and
Purples.
just like, whoa, you know.
I'm a sucker for that depth of field in any tattoo. I don't see enough of it nowadays.
And definitely not being executed like this.
No way.
Side note, for all of you viewers who are looking at these tattoos and like either, and your minds are blown like us, this is the type of work that we have to judge at Josh and Riley's show at Evergreen. Like,
yeah, imagine all these
if
people
out of
enter
all
a piece.
What if out of all these tattoos we just shown you, now you have to pick the best one and call it the best one
And
today?
see, and that's what sucks, because, you know, it's like, let's say that this one would have been fourth place, but I don't have a fourth place, right? But man, it sucks when you literally are splitting hairs. It ends up coming down to the tiniest little, well, maybe it's a little overworked right there, or maybe somebody hates purple, and one of the judges is like, I wouldn't have put purple there. I've gotten in like, Lefty Colbert and I were on stage judging together. Lefty, if you're listening to it and you remember this, and we like got in a big argument about it, and it should be like that.
Passion.
I think you should believe in it that strongly.
Yes.
And you know, and he's like, well, I think this, and it's like, which I love. Thank you so much, Lefty, for keeping it real. But yeah, imagine trying to judge any of these as tattoo of the day.
Yeah.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Right. But that's what
They're all tattoo of the fucking year.
come on, man. But that's what us judges have to face at a caliber show like Josh's at Evergreen. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
Yeah, man. My God.
How long do you think this took?
See, that's the other thing that would probably
Us
piss
doing
me
this?
off. No,
The episode?
this
Oh, the tattoo.
which would probably piss me off because it's probably in less time than
Bless your heart.
you know.
Bless your heart, sweetie.
Well, you ask it like you know for sure that's all one session, which we know.
Oh, that's one
Right.
session.
See, that's what I'm wondering.
Right.
I'm wondering. I have a feeling when I see this guy's work, he just seems so confident. You know, and I'm just curious. You know, if this is one session or not. And the tattoo takes what it takes.
That's right.
It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
You know, I don't put clocks in my shop for that reason.
Ooh.
You know,
It's
Like
dope.
it.
And again, when you guys see the video, you'll see more, because you know how we were raving on how he left that tail. He leaves it on the top. You know, his top fin goes up behind and past the background to where he ends the top like he ended the bottom. So it's cohesive style wise all the way around. But yeah, you know, I bet he did this in like 8 hours just to make me want to be like, oh my God, you know?
Yeah.
What's your,
Yeah, I bet you're right.
know?
That's about it. Yeah, 8 to 10 hours, I bet.
He's like, no, 3.
Smiling the whole way.
In Russia, we do it 3 hours.
But if I did this tattoo, we're talking, 12 to 16 hours.
Yeah.
With a follow-up.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why you think that's funny, because I want to ensure the integrity of my piece for my client.
I like the comeback.
Great choices, guys. I think these were awesome.
Absolutely.
Like I said, I love doing this. I could talk tattoo all day. So,
And those of you that are watching us for the first time, did you know you can watch us every week here and talk shit? Thanks for joining us today, hopping over if you're usually just listening and you realize, man, I want to get fully edified and see what these boys are talking about. Thanks for joining us here on YouTube today. We're here every week. All you listeners, thank you for your love and support. We're growing like crazy. And we want this message and this show to get out to the world. So that's why we ask you to hit like and share and comment and engage to up the algorithm so that more people will see this, so that more people will hear it. If you enjoyed today's show and think all other tattoo collectors, fans, artists, brothers, homies could stand to get some value out of this.
Even your mom. Let her watch us.
Hey, like Kip says, there ain't no ceiling.
None. Grandma, aunts, uncles.
Man.
Your preacher.
My God. Thank you all. Thank you all, and we'll see you all next week.
Man, what time is it? 12:14 a.m. Matt, I don't know about you, but I like coffee.
You know I do every day, all day.
Man, and I could go for one right now. So our listeners, did you know that you can buy us a coffee?
For real?
Yeah.
Why would they do that?
Well, if you like what we do and you support our show and you appreciate our content, you can just go and click that little button that our producer Mike puts in every show and buy us a coffee just to show your contribution that you appreciate what we do for you to help us out.
People can really buy us a coffee?
Totally.
I would be honored if you bought me a coffee.
And not only that, but we got a little spot. It's special for the VIP listeners. It's called Close Friends on Instagram. And on there you can see some behind the scenes content. And when the cameras ain't running, seeing all the shit we'd be talking about each other.
Is that true, Mike? Damn, you guys, this is the first I've heard about either of these. So they can buy you or me a coffee.
Or Mr. Carlton.
Or Mr. Carlton. And like get a sneak peek behind the scenes.
Yeah.
By doing what again?
Fucking smashing that button.
Okay. What button you talking about? I want to smash the button.
It's the button on the fucking thing.
Okay. Do it. Just do it.
Absolutely demolish the button. But thanks for your time again, and we appreciate all our listeners.
Always.